What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and it really says something that I've got the better Chelsea team on the TV right now, and it's not the men's team. But yeah, that's where we are. So obviously, this is Tuchel's first game in charge after Frank Lampard's firing, and I'll probably make a video more dedicated to that. But it's probably going to be more of like I guess, end of the month kind of wrap up because I want to see, if we're going to do any more transfers or anything like that. So I'm probably going to talk about all the transfers and then also talk about Lampard sacking. But yeah, so of course, wanting to see what the new manager is going to bring, wanting to see what his decisions are going to be, what different tactics is he going to bring, good and bad. First of all, the lineup. Jorginho starts, and Mount does not. Already kind of got a problem. Gilmour's not even on the bench. There's a bit of a problem there. I mean, I get that he wants to probably have some experience in the side, but I mean, have you watched any of the games previously? Have you watched the performances previously? Because I can tell you, benching Jorginho was not part of Lampard's problem. I guarantee you that. So why? Why return to Jorginho? He doesn't bring anything. Oh, man. So, yeah, whenever I saw that, I was a little worried. But the formation was kind of interesting, and the way that he sort of set up the team was interesting as well, because it was a 4-2-3-1 based on the players. But what ended up happening is that whenever we were on the attack, it was more of I would say more of like a 3-4-2-1, I guess would be the best way to put it. Because essentially Chilwell was becoming the wing player. He was getting up, he was providing the width, and Hudson-Odoi was your other wing on the right side. And then Ziyech would come inside alongside Havertz, and Havertz was staying more central, while Ziyech was sort of moving all around. And then, of course, Kovacic and Jorginho were sort of holding in the middle, and then Giroud's your front man. And then on defense, Chilwell would drop back in. We'd go back to a back four. But it was almost like he was leaving Azpilicueta, Silva, and Rudiger back as sort of the back three, just to provide a bit more cover. Which I kind of like the flexibility. I like that idea that your fullback becomes your wing on the attack and then drops back into the back four again. Because it does sort of provide, if you wanted to put even like Werner or Abraham out there, yeah, they would have to do a bit more work because they couldn't just stay up top. But it does provide that ability for them to drift inside and become a second striker on the attack. There's a little bit of flexibility to it, and I liked how they handled it. And even for the most part, the movement of the ball seemed a little bit better. It wasn't always better. There were times when I'm looking at it thinking, okay, more possession, where we have a chance to counter and we don't do it. Cool. I hate it when we do that, but cool. But there were times that the possession was a bit more purposeful. It wasn't just, okay, we try to swing it out wide, that doesn't work, cut it back across, swing it out wide, nothing there, cut it back across. There was a bit more interchangeability. Sometimes it would come back in and then they'd go up the middle, or sometimes they would cut it back to the same side it just came from. So it keeps Wolves having to guess. They can't just shift to one side and shift to the other, because that's essentially what the last few games under Lampard was becoming. So I liked that element. Problem is it didn't happen enough. And then, of course, the one main problem that we still suffered from throughout this game, lack of quality in the final third. Just not enough there. Too many players skying it. Too many players missing their headers. Too many players not making the correct runs in the box. Honestly, a lack of movement overall up top just killed us today. We created our chances. We had our moments, but then nothing came of it. And again, another scoreless game for us. So I know this is like his first game in charge. He's only had like a couple days to kind of figure things out. But I don't know. How hard is it to say, hey, let's get some more movement up top? How hard is it to say, hey, don't just stand. We need movement. If you're not moving, come on off. Like, just provide something a bit more. But it feels like that stayed the same, even with the switch of managers. Like, nothing changed when it came to the final third. There was no more movement. There was no, I guess, quick 1-2s. And part of that, I do think, comes from the fact that you've got two holding midfielders that normally don't get up in the attack. I mean, Kovacic did a little bit more today, but Jorginho's not that type of player. I mean, we can see whenever he receives it, it's a minimum 2-touch. Like he hardly ever sends the 1-touch through. Occasionally that ball over the top, but I've said it before, that happens one every like 10 games. So why is he in there? So overall, I mean, for Tuchel's first game, there's some positive signs, but also there's still a lot that I'm just kind of questioning. Are you doing anything different? Is this something that you're trying to build off of this, or are you trying to just say, all right, let's do what's comfortable, but let's start working on something different? Because based on what I'm seeing, at least in the final third, it all looks pretty much the same as what we had under Lampard. And again, I know first game as a manager, not had many days to work on it, but there are some basic things that I feel like could have easily fixed some of the issues that we've had under Lampard, and some of the slow passing, some of the lack of movement, some of the more purposeless possession play. So yeah, take the good with the bad. Hopefully, next game we see even more growth, we see even more changes, and kind of a reversal of tactics from possession play to be more quick style play, and that kind of quick hit them on the counter, because we have players for that. So, but anyways, obviously, manager is kind of the big talking point, but there are some other things to discuss as well. One of them, I will just go ahead and talk about the referees today. Again, I'm not one to say that the referees cost us the game, and they didn't do anything that absolutely definitely cost us the game. But it does, again, get really frustrating whenever we're on a bad run of form, and then every time they beg for a call, Wolves, they get it. Podence, every single time he gets touched, goes down asking for a foul. He got every one. Every time they ask for a foul in the box or an offside, they got it. One time, Pulisic plays it off the defender, it goes out of bounds for what looks like a corner. He's asking for a goal kick. AR says, I got you, bud. It happened a lot. And then, of course, all the time wasting, we've seen it before where time wasting leads to they only get 3 minutes. So yeah, I was expecting that. But then they waste about 30 seconds taking the one goal kick at the 92nd minute mark. And then Havertz heads it, blocked out for a corner, 3 seconds past the 3-minute mark, and call. We don't even get to take our second corner, even though they wasted 30 seconds previously. And just all these little things added to the fact that we didn't finish our chances and we didn't create enough in the final third. It's just kind of why was it so one-sided today? There were even a couple of times where very similar challenges. Havertz top of the box, guy comes in, slides, gets the ball, but gets Havertz as well. Very similar to a foul he just gave Podence, where Kovacic came in, slid, got the ball, kind of nicked Podence as well. Podence got the foul, but Havertz didn't, because he's a Wolves fan, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, just kind of a frustrating thing from a fan perspective, because again, we're already not playing too hot right now, and then the referee just sort of steps in and says, I got you, Wolves. That's a foul. No. Oh, you guys want a corner? Well, too bad. The AR saw that one guy wasn't offside but thought he was, so we're giving them the offside. We got you, Wolves. As far as individual performances, though, Mendy and goal didn't have a whole lot to do today. Wolves didn't really create too much. We gave them a couple opportunities too, and I will talk about the back line in a second. But yeah, so Mendy wasn't really called upon that often. Just kind of a spectator for most of it, but didn't do anything that made me concerned either. So, I guess for what he had to do, he didn't do anything poor. But yeah, let's talk about the back line. Azpilicueta, in my opinion, solid game, very good defensively. On the attack, he actually put in a couple decent crosses as well. The only problem he had for me was some of his passes were just to nobody. He's trying to do that clever little through, split the defense. But part of the problem is it was a bit slow, and again, there's not really a whole lot of movement up top for him. So I will say he wasn't helped out in that respect. But also, if you see that the option's not on, let's not be giving it away like that. I'm somebody that I hate how much we keep possession, but also I don't want us to just cheaply give away possession either. It's more whenever we have the options and we don't use them and we go back just to keep possession in our back line. That's when I have an issue. But when you're in a situation where you've got a 1 in 10 chance of hitting that pass through 3 defenders and finding your mark, maybe don't go for that one. It's the ones where, like, Jorginho receives it and he's got an option out wide that we can play into the space, and instead he takes 2 touches and then plays it right back to another defender. That's the frustrating keeping possession, not, oh, I tried something clever in the final third that didn't really have a good chance of coming off and gave the ball away. That's a little different. That's a little bit more frustrating for me. So, but yeah, again, like I said, solid defensively. He's definitely got the experience, I think, to deal with a lot of the pace. So even though he's not our quickest defender, I think he's smart enough to know how to deal with the pace that Wolves had and really shut him down a lot today. Silva and Rudiger in defense, still just a lack of organization there, and it led to a couple decent chances for Wolves where one person's stepping, the other one either doesn't see what's going on behind him or doesn't come to close, doesn't come to help out the other side. Like, there were just a couple moments where, again, it just felt too easy for Wolves to play through us. And especially because we should be more organized defensively, we have those experienced players back there. The fact that they're so easily cutting through us is still worrisome. I still wonder why that's happening. Like, who's not talking? Is everybody communicating with each other? Who's the leader back there? Because there are times I don't know who the leader is. It should be Silva or Dave because they're the elder players back there. They're the ones with all the experience. But it feels like neither of them really take charge at times. It feels like nobody's really shoving players across the field like, hey, get out there or anything like that. And obviously that's a little extreme. But again, you see the point, though. Like, nobody is really talking. Nobody is the voice back there that's like, hey, get out there, or hey, stay close. It just feels like everybody's sort of doing their own thing, and there are times whenever that leads to some very bizarre choices from our defenders that leaves a man wide open. So, but yeah, overall, I mean, as far as their defensive work, they did well. It's just more the marking, the position, that type of stuff needs a lot of work, in my opinion, because that's been one of our issues for the past several games. So, Chilwell, didn't really see much of him defensively, and I think a lot of that is down to the fact that, again, he was allowed to be pushed much further up the field. He did do a couple good defensive things here and there, a couple good challenges. I mean, obviously, having to be up in the attack but then also come back and defend Traore is a difficult ask. But on the attack is where I just still feel like we brought him in because we wanted somebody who could do the defensive side of things while still giving us that attacking edge that players like Alonso and Emerson have in their game, but they just don't do well when it comes to tracking back and comes to defending. So that's what Chilwell's supposed to be. He has that ability to defend, but also wanted to be, hey, he can get up in the attack too. But again, I'm not seeing enough of it. Like, he started so well, a couple of assists, got a couple goals, and we're thinking, yes, this is what we wanted. He's also defending well. And now he's just not really doing much. I mean, the obviously the miss in the box where Havertz cuts it back top of the box and he puts it into row Z, that's kind of a more obvious thing. But even his crosses, something that maybe doesn't get noticed as much, his crosses, he hits the first man way too much, in my opinion. Like, all you got to do is just miss him and get it in the box, and it feels like he's not really doing that enough. So I am a bit concerned, and obviously he did get pulled today, which I don't know if it was because he wasn't really doing his job well enough, or if it was just because Tuchel was thinking, hey, let's get another wing on over there instead of a fullback and just kind of go a bit more attack-minded. But whatever the case, I just expect to see more out of him. I expect to see him providing more in the final third. And, Alonso is on the bench today, and based on how Tuchel is using that left fullback, that could be a better position for Alonso. It's not necessarily a wing back, but it's not quite as defensive-minded as a fullback is. So Alonso would be able to get up in the attack without having to always work back and always, make sure he's tracking. So I don't know. It'll be curious to see if Alonso manages to kind of work himself back into the team, or if Emerson, shows his abilities a bit better than Chilwell is right now. So I would love for one of them to pressure Chilwell a little bit, though, so that way he has to start performing a bit higher. Check him on the game real quick. Into the midfield. I already talked a bit about Jorginho, but yeah, just to basically say, kind of sum up his performance, it's just too slow. And especially how quickly we were moving the ball at times, how fast-paced this game can be. He's just not quick enough. On the ball, he's not quick enough. Defensively working back, he's not quick enough. There's just so much about his game that's so slow that I don't think he's the right fit for us. And again, the fact that he started is a concern because I don't think anybody was saying, hey, Lampard, why aren't you starting Jorginho more? Maybe the trolls. The trolls might have been because, let's face it, a lot of the trolls on the internet are like, oh, Mount is just Lampard's son. Like, he's just using him too much. Whatever. So, but why is Tuchel going with Jorginho? Why is that one of his decisions is like, we're going to get Jorginho back in there? For me, that shows kind of I don't know, like his perception is a little bit off. Like, oh, that's something that Lampard was doing wrong. It wasn't. It was more the tactics. It was more playing players out of position. That was Lampard. And also, unable to get the players motivated, because big club, he doesn't really know lack of experience, basically. So that is a concern for me. And Jorginho didn't do anything today that convinced me otherwise. Everything he did today was just either, okay, at least he kept the ball, or why did you do that? Why did you give the ball away? So I just don't know why. I don't know why he was in there to begin with. Kovacic, we scored. Yes. Come on, ladies. You got this. They're going to win the league. I'm calling it right now. I do kind of want to watch the highlights, so I'm going to keep talking while I watch. Kovacic today was definitely a lot more involved in the attacking third than he normally is. A lot of that is just down to he has the ability to be very creative. He has the ability to take on players and keep possession. But for some reason, I don't know why, it seemed like he kind of faded away from that this season. Like, it seemed he was more focused on just trying to keep the ball. Really? No highlight? It's lame. But yeah, I mean, this game, there was a lot more energy to get past players, to move the ball quickly, to get that killer pass into the final third. It seemed like he was much more involved in the attack, and I enjoyed seeing that because he did create some good opportunities for us. So hopefully he can keep that energy. I really feel like having him in there and performing at his best is one of the things that we've really needed for a while. So hopefully he can keep that energy going. But as far as the three and behind the striker, first of all, talk about Ziyech. Still want to see more from him. He's working hard, but there's still a lot of moments where I feel like he should be doing more. We've seen his quality. We've seen his capabilities. So I feel like we should be seeing a lot more from him. We should be seeing him providing that killer pass more. We should be seeing him have those shots that have a chance of going in from outside the box more. And it just feels like he's not really doing that enough. And even like defensively, there are times that it feels like he's kind of a step behind. He's not closing quite quick enough. And I think the one thing that I really noticed from him today as well that kind of just stood out for me is there were a lot of times, nice, make it 4. There are a lot of times that it feels like he doesn't see what's going on around him. Like there were a couple times he receives it, and then all he's got to do is just look to his left, and there's a chance to play it out wide, and then we can get up in the attack, we can counter. And there are a lot of times where he receives it, touch, 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 and then he has to go back, and now Wolves, it was a 3-on-4, and now Wolves have all 10 men behind the ball. And suddenly now we have to play through them again. So there's just a couple times that happened specifically for him where he received it with a chance to start a counter. And again, knowing his capability, I feel like that's not good enough for him. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see him continue to grow under Tuchel, but for what I saw this game, it was still have that worry that he's still not quite up to his best. Havertz, however, I feel like made a turnaround in this game. A lot of that, I think, is down to the fact that he's finally playing in his best position, which is center attacking mid. He has the freedom to receive and play, start an attack. He has the ability to swing it out wide if he needs to. He's got a little bit of everything in his locker. So being able to play just sort of sitting right behind the striker, it sort of allows him to be the focal point of the attack, which means he's on the ball a lot and he has a lot of options. Whenever you receive that ball and you've got everybody coming toward you, your back might be to the goal, but I think that's where he excels because he can either turn the defender that's coming behind him, or he's got so many options that he can lay it off to and then look to turn and go. But yeah, he looked much more energetic today. Like that one run he made in the first half, it's something that we haven't seen maybe one time before he tested positive for COVID. So it just seemed like he was back to more full fitness, and I loved a lot of what I saw. So hopefully he can keep that momentum as well, because again, him and Kovacic are two players that I feel like haven't really been playing at their best recently. And they're two players that when they are playing at their best, they're very effective and very necessary to have in the team. Hudson-Odoi had his moments, had a couple of really good moments in the first half and then started to fade as the second half went on. I found it interesting that he was the one that they ended up putting sort of at that left. At that point, it was definitely more of a wing back. But I found it interesting that he was the one that Tuchel decided to go with. In that position, he did okay. I feel like he's still sort of fading as the second half goes on whenever he starts. But, I mean, he worked back pretty well, and on the ball, he was still looking pretty dangerous. They had to keep an eye on him, like a very close eye as well. So, but yeah, he was probably our more dangerous player in the first half. He was the one creating a lot of our best chances in the first half. But again, as the second half wore on, you could see he started to fade off. So it's still, he's had his moments where he's come on and been the hero, and then he's had his moments where he's started and been the player that sort of gave us a fire in the first half. So I feel like he's kind of had to find the best of both worlds. He's got to find that ability to be the star man, not just the first, but also going on to the second when everybody else is tiring, when the other team is tiring as well. He's got to find that last bit of energy that sort of makes him the best player on the pitch. But I still think he's providing a lot. I still think he's really working hard. And I love to see that from him, because he was a player that was sort of on the periphery last season and didn't really seem like he was going to be there for us. So now it seems like, oh my goodness, good save. It seems like he has found that fire again, which is good to see. Then substitutes. Oh wait, no, Giroud. What am I talking about? Giroud had some good moments and then also kind of faded out of the game for large parts of it. I was a little disappointed with him overall because, again, as somebody who has set pretty high standards for him, because I think he's underrated, I feel like today he just didn't really show why I think he's underrated. He had a couple moments where he did have that little interchange, but overall it just felt very muted from him. Like, it didn't really feel like he was playing to his best, in my opinion. I will say, little disappointed that Tuchel didn't go with Abraham after he scored the hat trick, against Luton. I do feel like that was kind of a mistake as well, because I feel like he's flying right now. So let him get this start, give him the momentum and the confidence to keep banging him in. So I do feel like that was a little bit of a mistake from Tuchel. But as far as Abraham is concerned, he came in with Pulisic pretty late on. I felt like the subs could have been a bit sooner, considering we weren't really doing much up to the 70-minute mark. Like, the second half, it was kind of a stalemate for a large majority of it. And then it wasn't until the subs came on that we started to create the best chances. But yeah, Pulisic came on for Chilwell, and Abraham came on for Giroud. And Pulisic, again, still not really firing at the same level he was previously. Still just having a couple moments where you see the flashes, you see the flair that he brings, and then all of a sudden he just doesn't do much with it. The final product is still lacking, in my opinion. And Abraham, again, I feel like if he starts the game early on, I think with the confidence he's playing with, I think he could probably bring quite a bit. The quick movement, the ability to run in behind like he has. I feel like he could have brought a lot more, but bringing him on so late in the game means that they're going to be sitting deep. At this point, they made it to the 70-minute mark without giving up a goal, they're probably going to be sitting in and taking the draw, because I do know they're kind of hurting right now, I think, with a couple of major injuries. So they'll be looking for the draw. They're going to be looking to pack it in and not give Abraham a whole lot of time to play. And so I feel like because of that, we didn't really get to see him continue from where he left off on the weekend. So a little disappointed for him in that sense, but I still feel like he played pretty well. I still feel like he was providing a lot of options, making those good runs in and causing the defense a lot of issues, which then was compounded when finally, with only 10 minutes left, Tuchel was like, all right, I guess we'll get Mount in now. So he came on for Ziyech, and within the 10 minutes he was on the field. I mean, he wasn't our best player overall, but he created our best chances in the second half. In the 10 minutes he was on the field, he created the best chances that we had in the second half. Why did you bring him on with only 10 minutes to go? I will not understand that. I will never understand that decision. Tuchel could go on and win the league and the Champions League and the FA Cup for us this season. I will still wonder, why did you wait until the 80th minute to bring on Mason Mount in your first game in charge? What caused you to make that decision? Because you could say experience all you want. You could say, oh, well, I mean, Jorginho, he just has more experience than Mount. You could say that's the reason all you want. The fact of the matter is, Mount was not the issue that Lampard had. I know all the trolls want to say, oh, his favoritism, he just played Mount for no reason. No. If you talk to anybody who understands the sport, Mount was not being shown favoritism because, oh, he's English and Frank Lampard's English and that's why he's giving him all this time. He was playing because he's been our most consistent player this season. He scores goals. He works hard in the midfield. He works to win the ball back. He's very talented on the ball. He has the ability to create opportunities for other players. His passing is pretty much a 95% completion rate. And they're not just passes back. They're not just laying it back to a defender or little square balls. They're actually attacking passes. They're passes that create opportunities. So why the hell is he sitting on the bench? He came on and created some great opportunities, and I really do feel like that's where the game finally opened up for us. I can't remember because there was the one chance that was nearly created that Hudson-Odoi came back and blocked. I don't remember if that happened before or after the Mount, but I don't remember much of Wolves getting forward after Mount came on. It seemed like it was pretty much all us at that point. They were sitting back a lot more, but the fact that we're creating chances, even though they're basically parking the bus, just shows the impact that Mount had as a sub. Because at that point, now you've brought on a new striker that the defense has to try to contain, and now you've brought on another player who has the ability to turn in tight spaces and create opportunities and move the ball around quickly. And suddenly now the defense has a problem, and we nearly capitalized on a few of those problems. So, yeah, I know I went off on that for a little tangent, but my God. All right. Anyways, but overall, 0-0 draw, it's not the worst result. It's definitely not what we needed today. I think, at home, we got to get the win. I know it's Tuchel's first game. I know he's still figuring some things out, but we need to win. Like, we have to start winning, because that's our issue right now is we're not winning. We're beating teams that are lower than us. We're beating championship level sides. Fulham, for me, is a championship level side. So we're not beating anybody in the Premier League right now, which means we need to change that. We need to change and find we need to find a way to beat these teams that are Premier League level. And Wolves would have been a great stepping stone for that. Even though they are a little bit weakened right now, even though they're not playing at their best, that's still a team that is difficult to beat. So you beat them in your first game, and it feels like, all right, we've got some momentum, we've got some confidence. But in my opinion, it just showed there's still a lot of work to do. So hopefully Tuchel can start to work on it. Hopefully we'll see some change in the next couple games. But I don't know. I still feel like our Europa League chances are still slim at the moment, and that's concerning for me. But anyways, at least our women are playing well. So, one Chelsea team is. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in this game? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.